As people try to determine New Year's resolutions for themselves in 2021, many of us are attempting to read more. After all, reading allows you to learn new things that help you navigate through life. It's a conventional idea that through reading we could acquire wisdom. And look, us people who are into philosophy, we are kind of bookworms, reading texts usually more than once from hundreds if not thousands of years ago. It would be wrong of me to say that reading did not get me to where I am now. However, reading obviously takes time away from our very limited existence on this earth. And with large books, you could see weeks, if not months, dedicated to a single text. Now don't get me wrong, it's definitely worth it sometimes. Reading the Brothers Karamazov, an over 1,000-page book, was definitely life-changing for me. So with all that being said, why is it that one might want to read less? Ironically, this question might be answered from a book, specifically Hermann Hesse's novel Siddhartha. It's a book about one man who's curious about life and this world, like the rest of us, a man who seeks enlightenment. Here's a quick summary which contains some spoilers for the book, so you've been warned. So we got our main character, Siddhartha, who's born the son of a Brahmin. And he has a friend, Govinda, who knows that Siddhartha is going to grow up to be a great Brahmin because he's smart and curious and all that jazz. But perhaps Siddhartha is too curious, as he begins questioning some stuff about the Brahmins and life in general. So after seeing some samanas pass by, who are basically these ascetics, he and Govinda leave to join them. And he goes the whole 9 yards as an ascetic. He only eats once a day, fasts, he becomes unkempt, he starts freezing in the rain, but he still has questions and isn't fully satisfied, you know? His thirst for knowledge is not fulfilled. But he hears that the Buddha is nearby, so he and Govinda go to listen to him talk. Govinda eventually joins the Buddha, but Siddhartha doesn't. So Siddhartha is on his way out of Camp Buddha when he comes across the big man himself. They talk, and Siddhartha says to him, "You have learned nothing through teachings, and so I think, O illustrious one, that nobody finds salvation through teachings. To nobody, O illustrious one, can you communicate in words and teachings what happened to you in the hour of your enlightenment. That is why I am going on my own way, not to seek another and better doctrine, for I know there is none, but to leave all doctrines and all teachers, and to reach my goal alone, or die." So he leaves, crosses a river, meets a ferryman, ends up in a city with a beautiful woman named Kamala, and lives a life of kinda hedonism. He has sex, gambles, drinks, all that jazz. But then, he even moves on from this, and ends up back at the same river he crossed to become a ferryman himself. So at this point, Siddhartha is pretty content. I mean, there's some drama with his son and all, but let's instead turn our focus to when Siddhartha's friend Govinda returns to him. Govinda asks if Siddhartha has finally found a doctrine which helps him live and do right. Siddhartha replies, "You know, my friend, that even as a young man, when we lived with the ascetics in the forest, I came to distrust doctrines and teachers and to turn my back on them. I am still of the same turn of mind, although I have, since that time, had many teachers." He then goes on to describe the people he met throughout his journey, including Kamala, the ferryman, and the river itself. He later goes on to say, "Knowledge can be communicated, but not wisdom. One can find it, live it, be fortified by it, do wonders through it, but one cannot communicate and teach it. I suspected this when I was still a youth, and it was this that drove me away from teachers." So what is the theme or idea we could take away from all this? The idea I walked away with was taking philosophy as not just reading and learning theory, but going out into the world and living it. We all know the importance of reading and learning, so I don't think we have to go into that. But what's less talked about is the importance of living and experiencing when it comes to wisdom. And by experiencing, I don't mean empiricism or anything in the realm of epistemology. Check out my last video for info about that. But rather experiencing as a kind of being in the world. To live, to have things we care about, to experience new ways of living. Remember, Siddhartha found a lot of truth in the Buddha's teachings, but being told about what enlightenment is not the same as experiencing enlightenment. Language, in this instance, gets called into question. For example, there are many beautiful things in this world. Mountains, lakes, a burger from In-N-Out, Chiara Advani, certain films, etc., etc. Sometimes words cannot adequately describe how beautiful these things are. It's like telling your friend about an amazing dream you had, but really, they don't actually care. That's because despite the vividness and beauty of the dream, attempting to represent it in words just falls flat. So what might one do then? There's nothing wrong with reading and learning theory, but one should try to experience and live as well. Take lessons from the world, even the seemingly mundane things like the river. Don't just cuddle up with books on how to live, although there's nothing wrong with that, but also be sure to live, experiment, discover, change, and become. Now, you heard it from me before that you should read the text itself. This is just what I took away from the book, and perhaps I could be wrong. But really, this is a great book. I read it all in one night because I enjoyed it that much. It's super short, like only 150 pages, but it's extremely deep and entertaining. I haven't read Hesse's other works, so if you have, leave a recommendation in the comments. Thanks for watching, y'all. If you want to support the channel, be sure to subscribe, like, and hit the bell, and I hope you all have a beautiful rest of your day.